Hi, this is Calvin Cox. It is August 1st, 2013, 8:26 p.m. It's Thursday evening, and I want to share a few things with you. You should go to YouTube and look under fracking hell, the semicolon, the untold story. And you should probably go ahead and copy this onto your hard drive and computer and hold on to it, because this thing is so damaging to the natural gas industry and the way that they're going about removing natural gas using the fracking process and all the unbelievably horrid chemicals they're pumping in the ground, and what it's doing to a lot of people's water. You don't hear about this. And I'm afraid somehow some big power broker is going to manage to even go on YouTube and yank down this site. It would not surprise me. It's so damaging. And so people don't want to, lose this information that's there. It's making dirty old coal look rather appealing compared to what they're doing here. There's a lot of things that can be done to coal to clean it up, and to store the CO2 deep in the ocean. So what I'm going to I got a few things I'm doing right here. Hold on a second. I gotta hurry this up here. This is my old water pump engine. For instance, if you have a 10 horsepower motor that's going at 3,800 RPMs, that means that this will go around, this little here will go around 3,800 times in 1 minute. So then you go 3,800 divided by 60 will give you how many revolutions per second. And then you figure how many revolutions per second. Okay, you take that and figure how much displacement there is, how much water will be pulled into the cylinder and then pushed out. And that calculation has to do with each time that piston pulls in and pushes out, how much water it's moving, and then how much that water weighs, and then how much going up a certain size pipe up a column. For 40 feet, jump to another motor, push it another 40 feet, and jump to another motor, push it another 40 feet. Because to get 50 psi, that has to do with how much volume is actually being pushed out. Has to do with the flow rate, and so depending on the size of pipe, because 1 cubic foot of water weighs 62.5 pounds. So you can imagine a size pipe about this big and going 40 feet, or around thereabouts a little bit. I think it's, what was it, 1 1/4 inch radius, so 2.5 foot diameter, gets up to about 11,000 pounds. So you have to figure every single time that thing is pumping how it's going to work and go up into the tower. Calculations have been getting astronomically difficult, and they're fun, but they're a big challenge because you have to balance everything. And here's what I'm working on: balancing water movement factors as relating to a gravity water pressurizing tower of 115.5 feet to get 50 psi. Okay, you have to take gasoline engine size and horsepower. That's one factor. Another one is gasoline engine operating RPM. water pump size in cubic feet per 1 revolution, displacement of each water pump piston. These two are figuring in each other. Height of water column being pushed, weight of water column being pushed, diameter of water piping, inside diameter. And you can vary things to get all of this to work. Increase or decrease gasoline engine horsepower, utilize gearing so the gasoline motor can maintain a working RPM and allowing the water pump to operate at a lower RPM. Increase or decrease the size of each water pump's piston and also increase or decrease the number of water pump pistons per water pump. Increase or decrease the height of the water column being pushed. Increase or decrease the diameter of water piping throughout the whole pressurizing part of the system. 6. A smaller diameter water pipe means less overall weight of the water column being pushed. So there's a lot of things to consider. This isn't just something you go, oh, well, you know, whatever. Now, if you've done this type of figuring and went to college for it and had some worksheets or whatever, you might be able to figure out within a couple hours how everything would balance. That's if you did it all day, but I don't do that, so it makes it more difficult. Now, with the future, because of climate change and there's going to be water shortages, and places that have water are going to want to ship it to places that don't have water. And the places that don't have water might be willing to pay for it, you know, which would help the people who have excess water might, you know, be able to get some revenue. It might be a good thing. I don't know. It's an idea. And so then it comes down to, how does one locality that has a lot of water and good water, how do they get it to somebody that needs it? So one of the good ideas is to utilize creeks and rivers that are already in place, that are already in the low-lying areas. So if you have water here and there's a hill or a lot of small mountain or whatever you might need to get up over, once you get up over that mountain, then the water would naturally gravitate to the lowest point and then flow down the creeks and on down the rivers and to, hopefully, the area that needs it. You might need to go up over a major hill once and let it go down and wind around and then pump it again from that point up and over the next ridge and down. You might have to do that many, many times. But that's the general idea. River jumping technique. The advantages: uses an existing waterway, creek or river, to move large quantities of water. Reduces the amount of water pipe. Because imagine if you had to run water pipe the whole way up and over and down and everything else. It might double or triple the amount of piping you would need. So you save a lot of money and make it easier by just using an existing waterway. You only need the piping when you're trying to climb uphill and over higher objects. Anything that's not, anything that's going level or up, you're going to need a pipe. But usually half the time something's always going down, so you win there. You don't have to, you know. So it's a lot cheaper to transfer water by utilizing what's there naturally. Reduce the amount of water pipe that would normally be necessary for a water transfer project. This river jumping technique can be repeated over and over again without limit. You could do it 100 times if you needed to, or more. Just draw a line on a topography map from the water supply source to the receiver location of the extra water to be sent to see how the flow patterns would work. Could save a huge amount on water pipe requirements, which cuts down on the overall money cost. And you know, the piping, if one area were to transfer a lot of water to another one, and if it would take 3 months, 6 months, whatever, after that project or that transfer is through, that piping can be broken apart and shipped elsewhere and used for another project. But, you know, if you're working with pipe, if you've only got, you know, several thousand pieces of pipe, or maybe thousands more, nonetheless, it cuts down on your amount of labor and time and shipping costs to move the pipe to new locations and set it up again. So it does save a huge amount. A huge amount. Okay, what I have here is these lines here are the high points. They're the ridge lines. Okay, I've got, I hope the camera sees all this. I got one major high ridge here, and then another high ridge here that comes down to a spine point that ends in a kind of like a valley. Here, right here, is Johnsontown. They have a huge retainment pond, and let's say they recently had a massive storm and all the water flowed into that river by their town and it was flooding, and so they suctioned off, they pumped off a lot of that flood water into the retainment pond, and now they have a bonanza of water, and they want to get rid of some of it. So the thing is, over here, Dry Town is saying, we need water, give us some water, give us some water, you know. And they have a low water pond. So then the question becomes, how do you get the extra water from Johnsontown over to Dry Town? And you try to utilize the natural lay of the land as much as you can to save money and make the whole project easier. So this right here, between this high ridge and this high ridge, where it ends down the valley, is a lot of creeks here flowing in, and the creek becomes bigger and eventually becomes a small river down by Dry Town. But still, usually this area doesn't get enough water, pretty much, on average. So even though that is becoming a small river, still it doesn't have a very good flow rate. So there's not much extra water there, period. So you need to get some extra water from somewhere else. So what Johnsontown is going to do here, they're going to pump this water out of the pond, and they're going to lay a pipe. And it's going to have pumping stations along the way as it climbs up higher and higher and higher. And they're going to get over this ridge and then get to the closest creek and just let gravity and Mother Nature do its own work and go all the way around and flow right down to here, where Dry Town is going to have like a diverter block and cause most of that excess water. They're going to catch it and pump it over into their low water pond and fill it up. So they'll have emergency water supply, whatever they need it for. So basically the amount of piping they have saved is from this point at the top of that ridge all the way over to this point here, where the river would be and where they would normally suction water off out of the river. So that actually is a pretty fair distance. So, I mean, it would be depending on where the towns would be, how far apart they would be in their own personal situations. But the future of water is to where it's going to become vastly more important to people in every single way, is not far away. Until enough can be done to force climate change back to the climate that we used to have, where weather patterns will be more predictable, rain will fall more like it used to, which is more acceptable to people. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to plan for water management, and there's really no way around it. So how this would actually play out per towns and localities, and how you would ship water here and there and wherever, it would all play out different depending on the way the land laid. You know, if it was mainly uphill over there and downhill, it just depends. So it would take some serious planning, but the benefits would obviously be there. Thank you.